Hello, everyone. Todd Smatala here. We're going to talk about the basics of PBS and the relationship between layers and pairing pools. So if we start out with no bids in at all, we basically have the entire bid packet that's available to us. Since we haven't put any preferences in right now, we're saying if we did absolutely nothing, we're just telling the system, look, create a bid for me with all of the trips that we have in there. Now, it is going to take into account all of your legalities. So you're not going to get, 10 days in a row of trips, something like that. It's always going to take into account legalities before it does anything, before you put in any preferences whatsoever. So at this stage, you could do nothing and you would get a legal line. However, the whole point of the system is to put in your preferences. So when we put in something, like let's start with a pairing length. If we want to put in turns 1 day, so you can see already we have put in 4,174 trips. It's actually positions on each pairing, right? That's how many there are of turns in my base right now. So if you look at the logic of what happened here, if we go back, we started out with this many right there. And as soon as we've put in turns, it's pushed the rest of that number down below here, right, into the next layer. So in this layer one, right now, we have all of the turns, and we've pushed everything else into the next layer after it. So it's going to continue doing this. And even by the time we get to layer 7, it's still going to put all of the rest of the trips in whatever's after layer 7. So if you haven't bid enough by layer 7, it's still going to find something for you. So let's sculpt this bid a little bit more, right? I'm looking to do turns, but I want to start out and get as much of the high time turns as possible and then gradually go down from there. So I'm going to use a button called minimum average credit per duty. So this is saying I want to have, in this particular case, I want to have at least 5.5 hours minimum average credit per duty period in these pairings. So it's a turn, it's 1 day. So there's really only one duty period in there. It's pretty easy. I want a 5.5 hour turn is what I'm looking for if I use this one. So I'm going to start on the higher end and I'm looking for 8-hour turns. Well, that number went way down here, but that's okay because I want to have as many of those as possible. Now, one of the most important things with PBS is your layer tab. You want to keep coming back to this layer tab after you've made a change here, and you want to check your pairing set to see what is it that I bid, right? So now I can see, okay, I'm bidding Quito, I'm bidding LA turns. There's only 2 pages of them, but I can flip through to see everything. There's some Denver turns in there. This is all good for me. I like that. Then I can return to the layer overview and continue on. So the next layer, I'm going to relax that a little bit. When we say relax, we're going to still do the turns, but then I'm going to go down to 7.5 hours. So I'm really looking for anything that's 7.5 to 8 hours on the turn. So there's 309 options here. And again, I'm going to come back and check my work. I'll look into layer 2 and see what do I have here. Port of Spain. There's 6 pages here. So we've got all kinds of stuff I can flip through. Grenada, these are all really nice. Perfect. Then I'm going to continue with the idea. I'm going to do another turn. I'm going to look for 7 hours. Let's see what happens there. Layer 3, checking the work. We have UVF, Medellin now, Boston. Right. And as you can see, I'm mixing in NIPD with domestic. So maybe I don't want to do that. I could add that in as an option and say I only want to do domestic or I only want to do NIPD. So we'll continue with this theme and we're going to do 6.5 hour turns. We've got 347 in there, always checking our work on each time we make a change to a layer. These are Mexico City and St. Martin. We can flip through the other pages to see what else is going on. Ooh, now I see something that I don't like. 4-legged turns. So I know right away I need to make some changes with that. So I am going to go back over here to the pairing tab, and I'm going to say on my turns, I don't want any more than 2 landings per duty. We only have 1 duty period, so it's pretty easy. I only want to be going there and back. I don't want to have these 4-leg things in there. So I'm going to look for maximum landing per duty right down here, and I'm going to put 2. I'll go ahead and put this in all my layers. I know they didn't pop up in those first few, but just in case I went through too quickly, now I can check in there. And again, I've made a change. So what am I going to do? Head back to the layer tab. I'm going to look at my pairing set. I'm going to look at layer 4 in particular, because this is where I found those four-legged turns. And now I see, yeah, they're all gone. Beautiful, right? Back with our theme in layer 5, I'm going to do 6-hour turns. Checking into layer 5, the results. And here we've got St. Kitts. And I can keep flipping through just to make sure, again, there's nothing that I've missed like I did the last time. And then in layer 6, I'm going to change it up a little bit, because now I'm down to 6 hours. I know I can hold 5-hour turns, so I'm going to look to do higher time 2 days before I get into 5.5-hour turns. I'd rather focus on higher time in general, so I'm going to do 2 days this time. And I want to try to get 14-hour 2 days, right? So here we go. So we'll see what's happening here on layer 6. Okay, so here you can see none of these have more than 2 legs a day. So I may want to stick with that, but I'm also on a later layer, so I want to throw some more stuff in there. I'm going to actually relax the maximum landing per duty in this one and see what happens. So yeah, if you can see up here, it was at 88 and now I've gone up to 176. I'll just show you that again so you can look at that number. See, it's going to change to 88 there. That's going to open it up. So that's going to allow something like 3 1s or 3 2s, things like that. We'll look again at layer 6 just to compare how things work. So yeah, we've got some 3 3s. In order to get the higher time 2 days, you may need to do that, right? And then in my last layer, I will just put in the 5.5-hour turns. Okay, and so this is a complete bid right here. You can see they talk sometimes about this Christmas tree. I've added in numbers on each layer. That's what this means. So by the end of the day here, we've got 2,516 options in there. That's great. But just remember, each time we put something in here, what we did was pushed everything else to the next layer. So when we bid just the higher time turns here, we pushed everything here to layer 2. As we relaxed that a little bit, we pushed everything else down further. We still have the rest of the bid packet that's there, right? So if I can't hold turns at all, I'm in trouble. It's going to have to find something for me. So all of that is still there in whatever happens after layer 7.